Almost 108 years have passed, and with so many stories that mark the most famous shipwreck of all time, the Titanic remains with the same strength in the popular imagination. Eternalized in a series of books, documentaries, and films, the fateful disaster with the largest and most luxurious ship of the time is an epic and a historical synonym of grandeur, ambition, greed, and the fight for life. I'm William Toffoli, narrator of Mysteries of the World, and here is our special on the story of the Titanic. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the Misterios do Mundo channel, and turn on notifications. It's the beginning of the 20th century, and the transatlantic passenger trade is highly profitable. Ship companies compete to transport wealthy travelers and immigrants between Europe and America. Two of the main companies are Cunard and White Star Line. Cunard appears ready to increase its market share with the debut of two new ships, the Lusitania and the Mauretania, due to enter service later this year. The two passenger ships are attracting attention because of their speed. Seeking to respond to his rival, White Star Line president Bruce Ismay creates a plan to build a class of ships that would eventually be known for their comfort and grandeur. It is decided that 3 ships will be built: the Olympic, the Britannic, and the Titanic. About 3 months after work began on Olympic, the keel was laid on Titanic. The 2 ships are built side by side in a structure of unprecedented size. In order to differentiate the 2 brothers, the Olympic was built with an entirely white hull, while the Titanic was built with a black hull. The ships were largely designed by Thomas Andrews. In addition to the ornate decorations, Titanic will feature an immense first-class dining hall, 4 elevators, and a swimming pool. Her second-class accommodations will be comparable to first-class features on other ships, and her third-class offerings, while modest, will still be known for their relative comfort. The hull is made up of approximately 2,000 steel plates measuring 3 meters long by 2 meters wide and a thickness of up to 3.8 centimeters. These plates are held together by more than 3 million rivets. As for safety elements, the Titanic has 16 watertight compartments that include floodgates that can be closed remotely from the bridge so that water can be contained if the hull is breached. The system leads many to claim that the Titanic is unsinkable. The ship is equipped with 20 lifeboats, 15 with a total capacity for 65 people, 2 emergency cutters that accommodate up to 40 people, and 4 detachable boats that can carry 47 people. Thus, the 20 barcos can theoretically contain 1,178 people. Some engineers consider the idea of adding more boats, but the idea is rejected because they would take up too much space on deck. After the hull and main superstructure are completed, the Titanic is launched into the sea when the complex interior work begins. More than 3,000 professionals worked tirelessly from June 1911 to March 1912, equipping the ship with the latest naval technologies and innovations and installing sumptuous furniture and decorative elements never before seen on other ships. Its 4 chimneys, one of which is just decorative, are installed on the ship. The Titanic undergoes sea trials, earning its navigability certificate. The ship is 269 meters long, 28 meters wide, and 53 meters high. It operates with a crew of 892 people and can transport up to 2,435 passengers, arranged in 3 classes. The vessel has a maximum speed of 21 knots, consuming up to 730 tons of coal per day. The Titanic departs on its maiden voyage from Southampton, England, to New York in the United States. On board are several prominent people, including John Jacob Astor, one of the richest men in the world. When leaving, almost an accident. A smaller vessel called the SS City of New York and the Titanic were just meters away from each other. A possible collision here would have prevented the Titanic from leaving that day. The ship makes its scheduled stop in Ireland, where some more passengers board it. In total,
there are 2,224 people, including passengers and crew. Ice warnings from other vessels are received by the Titanic's crew and delivered to Captain Edward Smith. In the afternoon, a fire that had been raging in one of the coal reserves since before departure is finally put out. This type of incident is not uncommon on large vessels, but its intensity is very high due to a gas explosion and the low quality of coal caused by a miners' strike. Some historians would later argue that this may have weakened parts of the hull walls. The Titanic begins to approach an area known to have icebergs, causing Captain Smith to slightly alter the ship's course to the south, but maintaining speed at 22 knots, even with new warnings of ice. At around 9:40 p.m., an iceberg warning is received by radio operators, but is never passed to the bridge. Two lookouts, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, are in the Titanic's crow's nest. Their task is made more difficult because the ocean is extraordinarily calm that night, with no wind or moon to illuminate the ocean even a little. Since there was little water breaking at its base, an iceberg would be more difficult to detect. Furthermore, the two lookouts were without binoculars. 23 hours and 40 minutes, approximately 400 nautical miles south of Newfoundland, Canada, an iceberg is spotted by the lookouts, and the bridge is notified. First Officer William Murdoch orders a sudden turn and the engines to go into reverse. The Titanic begins to turn, but is too close to avoid a collision. The starboard side of the ship scrapes along the ice mountain. At least 5 of its supposed watertight compartments are breached. The ship can float with 4 of these compartments flooded, but not with 5. If the Titanic had collided with the iceberg head-on, rather than side-on, the damage would have been much less, and the ship would have been unlikely to have suffered the fate it did. Distress signals are immediately sent, one of which reaches the Carpathia at 20 minutes past midnight. However, the ship is 58 nautical miles away when it receives the signal, and would take over 3 hours to reach the Titanic. Other ships also respond, including the Olympic, but all of these are very far. A ship is seen nearby, but the Titanic fails to make contact. Messages may have been ignored. The Californian was also nearby, but its communications were always shut down at night. The stewards go from door to door, waking up passengers and crew, asking them to go to the boat deck. In third class, passengers are mostly left to their own devices after being informed of the need to go on deck. Many of them are reluctant to carry out the orders, preferring the warmth of the ship's interior to the bitterly cold night air. For many of them, it is not said that the ship will sink. While new contact attempts are made, the first boatlets begin to be prepared. It is difficult to hear anything other than the steam being vented through the chimneys so that they do not explode when they come into contact with the water. To make matters worse, the fact that the number of boats is insufficient for the number of passengers is that they are launched well below their total capacity. Lifeboat number 7, which is the first to leave the Titanic, holds only 27 people, although it has room for 65. Earlier that evening, a drill was scheduled to use the lifeboats, but the event was cancelled for unknown reasons. So, the crew is not prepared for an emergency, having no idea how many people the boats can carry. Second Officer Lightoller suggests to Captain Smith that women and children be evacuated first. Meanwhile, some crew members struggle to maintain vital services like lights throughout the ship and power to the radio so that calls for help continue to be sent. They would remain at their posts until the end, thus ensuring that the Titanic's electricity worked until the final minutes before the ship sank completely. The water begins to rise quickly through the lower decks. Many steerage passengers are still sleeping when they are awakened by the icy water, since many of these cabins are on the lower decks of the bow of the ship, which sinks first. On the boat deck, chaos. Women and children cry as they say goodbye to their husbands. Flares are fired into the sky to try to attract the attention of nearby ships. As the passengers fight and cause riots to get onto the boats, they are entertained by the legendary orchestra, which tries to overshadow even the sound of the shots that are fired by the sailors to try to maintain order. None of the musicians would survive the sinking, and they would play till the last moment. As the bow of the Titanic continues to sink, the stern begins to emerge out of the water. At around 2 a.m., the propellers become clearly visible, and the only lifeboats left are 3 collapsible ones. Smith releases the crew, saying, "It's every man for himself." It is the last time he is seen in the ship's control room, and his body would never be found. Most of the passengers desperately try to run to the stern, which is increasingly tilted over the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. The ropes of 2 of the chimneys break, causing the huge structures to fall into the water and onto some passengers. The freezing water swallows everything inside the ship,
until it breaks the glass dome of the grand staircase, the main symbol of the Titanic's eccentricity and luxury. Being subjected to 2 extreme forces, the flooded bow pulls the ship down, and the air at the stern keeps it on the surface. The steel structure cannot hold, and shortly after the power fails, the Titanic breaks in 2, leaving the stern to float for a few more minutes, where hundreds of passengers fight to stay as long as possible. At 2:20 a.m., 2 hours and 40 minutes after hitting the iceberg, the ship hides from surface view and slides silently to the bottom of the ocean. Hundreds of passengers and crew are left in the sea, whose temperature is -2 degrees. More than 1,500 people are in the freezing waters. Most of them get hypothermia. Only 5 of them are saved by the boats that arrive too late. On the boats, 710 people survive. The majority are women and children from the first and second class. 3 pets are also saved. The Carpathia arrives at approximately 3:30, more than an hour after the Titanic sank. The ship also ran a serious risk as it came at its maximum speed. Just before 9 a.m., with daylight now in sight, the Carpathia heads to New York City, where it arrives on April 18th. Although the majority of those killed were third-class crew and passengers, many of the era's wealthiest and most important families lost members. In the popular mind, the glamour associated with the ship, its maiden voyage, and its notable passengers added to the tragedy. Legends arose almost immediately about the night's events. Heroes and heroines, such as Molly Brown, who helped to man a lifeboat, and Captain Arthur Henry of the Carpathia, were recognized by the press. Others, most notably Ismay, who had found space in a lifeboat and survived, were vilified. A few days after the sinking, discussions began about the discovery of the wreckage. Given the limits of technology, serious attempts are not made until the second half of the 20th century. In August 1985, Robert Ballard leads an expedition aboard a United States Navy research vessel. On September 1, 1985, the first underwater images of the Titanic are recorded, when its giant calderas are discovered 3,800 meters deep. While the bow is clearly recognizable, the stern section was severely damaged. Covering the wreckage are rustic stalactite formations.